So you're shopping for a BMW E36. You're browsing Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, and you find a revelating discovery. The automatics are not only in a lot better condition than manuals, but they're a lot cheaper too. But the automatics are trash, right? Well, maybe not necessarily. Today we're going to take a look at this automatic E36 328i and answer the question, should you buy an automatic E36? Right, automatic E36s. We have the owner, Nathan, with us.
Hello.
This is his automatic E36 328i, and it's actually pretty nice. What'd you pay for this car again?
$4,500.
Yeah, $4,500, 137,000 miles, which it does need a little bit of cosmetic help, like a headliner and little odds and ends, but you know, it's an E36. That's basically all of them at this point.
Bought it 2 years ago, basically November of 21, 98,000 miles for, yeah.
Oh, for it was 98,000 miles when you bought it?
Yeah, 98,000.
Oh yeah, so that's kind of a big point with the automatics in these, is they're a lot cheaper. 98,000 mile manual car would still probably be like $6,000 in a 328.
Owned by a grandma, taken decently well care of, no rust.
Yeah, exactly. It's silver, black interior, sports seats, like very desirable spec. So the automatic on the non-Ms, which is what we're going to talk about in this video, is a 4-speed automatic, which you said is the
4L30 or 4L60. It's a GM transmission.
Okay, yeah, GM 4-speed automatic. The M3s, I believe, got a 5-speed.
Yep, ZF5.
ZF5. One of the biggest benefits of the automatic is, outside of it being cheaper, is the highway cruising RPM. So like we're going like 59 miles an hour right now. We're sitting at like 2,200. The manuals sit way higher up, especially the M3s, because the M3s have a shorter rear end. They have a 323 LSD or a 315 in the 95s, whereas the non-Ms, even in manual form, have a 293. The automatics have a 391, but you have the big, long automatic gearing, so it makes up for itself. Look at that. So one of the biggest pain points that people have with the automatic is that they're not fun to drive. And I'm here to say that that's not entirely untrue. Oh no. Right, so as I was saying before, I was rudely interrupted by a GoPro malfunction. I'm here to say that that's not entirely true with the automatic transmission. These are fun. It's just a different kind of fun. Does everybody prefer 3 pedals? Of course they do. You get that direct connection with the driver, but the automatic is not soulless in this car. We kind of talked about this with our Camry video the other day, the hot take, and if you watched that, you know I talked about how older automatics I feel like kind of have a sort of character, because they're not quick and immediate like all the modern ones are. They're a little bit slow, a little bit slushy, although the E36 automatic, at least thus far, doesn't seem that slushy to me, honestly.
You know, the gear ratios are good, and you can select what gear you'd like to be in. You know, so I usually do the transmission in 3, and I mean, while you're not shifting it yourself, it's good. It's good enough. It's good enough.
Yeah, I've definitely found that I think 3 is a good ratio in this car, so we'll do 3 again. 3 takes you, so you can see the lock there. I'm gonna say by math and RPM, I used like a gear calculator before this video. It takes you to around 100 miles an hour at 6,500 RPM, which is like more than you're ever gonna use. So when you're on a road like this, it means you're kind of just hanging out in like that juicy mid-range at any speed you'd be going, which is fun. So you get all that torque. In the manual cars, you have to use 3rd gear, and you're just kind of letting it spin up at like 4,500, 5,000, or you use 4th and you're sitting at like 3, and you gotta just go a lot faster. So 3rd gear in the automatic is actually pretty good for this type of driving on these kind of roads. Perfect like back road fun.
comment I like to make about the auto is that if you just leave it in D, in fourth gear, whatever, overdrive, it will go into fourth whenever it can. So it'll go into fourth at 25, and it won't get out of there unless you really push the pedal in. So
yeah, so you have to, yeah, so like the transmission's constantly trying to just get you the best fuel economy at all costs of everything else. So it's nice, you kind of get that maneuverability with the transmission. That's what's nice about BMWs, is even when you get, say, the automatic transmission and you lose that connection with the clutch pedal, they still give you some of that driver's input and that driver's control. You get 3, you have a manual mode. Well, actually, and you also get what's called the kickdown switch. So if I floor it right here, oh, actually it did not kick down. Interesting. I thought it was actually gonna kick down before I hit the switch. But basically there's a switch at the bottom of the pedal, and when you hit that switch, it will grab the lowest possible gear. Whereas before, foot down, not hitting the switch. So you can actually kind of have it stay in the gear that you want it to. You get that control of the transmission. It's just a different type of control. You have to know how to operate it. It's like you use 3, now it's a 3rd. I'm not gonna hit the switch again, but if you hit the switch, I imagine it would grab 2 for you. Unless you put it in the manual mode, which you said in the manual mode, it will just hold the gear indefinitely, right? Does a little thing come on? Oh yeah, right there.
Yep.
Little light. So now I'm in manual mode. That's so funny. All the new cars have it in the cluster. This has it by the shifter. That was it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Try to avoid the potholes there for you.
I saw that in the corner. Oh shit.
Yeah, dude, those are bad. There's the torque converter lock.
Yep.
So, for a lot of you enthusiasts that are gonna watch this part of the video, we're talking about some of the benefits of the automatic transmission. Maybe not some of the benefits, but some of the things that are nice about it, and go, I don't care, I want a manual anyway. We have good news for you too if you buy an automatic. You can manual swap these, and it's not that hard. The manual swaps tend to cost, you're doing it yourself, somewhere in like the $2,000 to $3,000 range, depending. That sound about right?
Yep.
Yeah, because you're pricing one out for this car.
Yep. You get the transmission, drive shaft, pedals, and differential. Differentials are usually expensive. So
Yeah, if you want to get like
if you want limited slip.
Yeah, if you want to find an M3 LSD, it's like $500 right there.
Yeah.
So that can add up the cost, but it probably wouldn't cost you more than like $3,500 or $4,000, even if you're replacing everything with new, really high-end parts.
Yeah, $4,000 have a very nice manual swap. Yep.
Yeah, they're probably like the starter, all the well in their stuff, all of it. But all things considered, the amount of money I think you're going to save by starting with a nicer car definitely is more than the added cost of just buying one that's factory manual, because the factory manuals on these now are just so expensive. And then even if you buy the factory manual, you're probably gonna have to do a lot of that work anyway, because it's likely the clutch is old, all the parts in it are old, the shifter components. So you start with an automatic, you get the chance to replace all of those things while you're in there. And if you do want to go drifting, if you start with an automatic one, you already get the 391 diff, which is a really good ratio for drifting these. It's very short, and it kind of helps you stay within the power band of the non-M's. 1/3. Yeah, so back to the manual swap. The other option you can do is, and this is a less common option, but I've seen it done a few times. And personally, I think this is really cool, but it probably doesn't make sense cost-wise, is you can grab a 6-speed manual transmission out of like an E36 330, which is at this point the same cost as the ZF5s, crazy enough, and use that transmission for your manual swap and then keep the stock non-M diff, because if you use that transmission, you keep the 391 rear end, the 6th gear in that setup is about the same ratio as 5th gear with the stock M3 diff. So you still get like 3,000-ish at 70, maybe 3,100, but then you get the acceleration of having all that same speed between 6 gears instead of 5. So you get more like Honda gearing.
Only thing that might be tricky with the 6-speed, just according to is probably the shifter linkage itself. Would probably you have to get like custom DSSR.
And that's where some of the added cost comes in.
Yeah.
And especially like the clutch parts are a lot more expensive on the 6s. So it's a take and give, because they never made a 6-speed that fit directly into here, except for the M3 one in Europe. But those transmissions are like unobtainium. You wouldn't bother swapping one of these with that. You just buy an E46 trans. I'm glad you gave me the opportunity to try one of these. I've been wanting to try an auto E36 again for a long time. I drove this car last year. You drove my M3, but then I've driven one before that, but I didn't really play around with it. I think it's cool, the 123. There's a lot more functionality in these that people give it credit for, and I think it's a pretty good transmission considering 90s automatics. Like, I don't know another 90s automatic that gives you this much to play with. Usually they're pretty bare bones, pretty basic. They weren't really there yet with like the whole giving you the ability to shift feature.
Right. I mean, yeah, you could make it. You can make it stay in the gear you want to be in, which is nice. That's what you want. So
exactly. So to answer the question, should you buy an auto E36? Like everything, it depends. If you're looking for more that purebred performance car, the automatic isn't going to give that to you. But for something you're just gonna drive on the weekends, have some fun on the road, I think there's nothing wrong with the automatic transmission. Furthermore, if you want to manual swap it, I think the automatic is actually the better one to start with. If you're ready to put some money into it, have a project, start with the automatic, you get something nicer, you'll save yourself so much money in the long run. If you're just buying it as a car and you want to manual swap it, it probably doesn't make sense to manual swap it and then sell it. Really, I think it just depends on what your kind of strategy is. But that's it for our automatic transmission review on the BMW E36. If you enjoyed, make sure to hit that like button and smash the subscribe button down below. But with that, everybody, I'll see you in the next one.
Feels like I've been